And by the time it hit 10 a.m., I already felt like I was behind. Nothing went wrong. There was just too much going on. That's when I knew it was time to stop forcing things and then go into reset mode. Because I knew that if I didn't slow down, I'll start to spiral. So since being back up on the channel, I've been doing a lot of work for it. Obviously, I've been uploading every day, finding time to edit the videos, make the thumbnails, all of the stuff to get the channel back started. But this time I started with a particular mindset in mind to not overload myself. Before in the past, when I would get extremely motivated and I would start uploading on the channel, my plan in the past was to upload 3 talking head videos a week and then 1 side hustle Saturday video, or a total of 4 videos a week. And then at the same time, edit those side hustle Saturday videos down into shorts, post on TikTok, post on Snapchat Spotlight. I was planning on monetizing all of the revenue streams right away, immediately, in order to maximize my potential. Keep in mind, this is when I was very motivated. After getting burnt out, and rightfully so, because I was doing a lot of work as well as my 9-to-5 job at the time, I then decided to come back onto YouTube, but this time with a different strategy and a structure that would not only give me rest, but would recognize overload early. Because overload doesn't always come from crisis. Sometimes it comes when you do too many small things at once. Emails, errands, expectations, noise, recording videos. And when it feels like I can't see clearly, when it feels like I don't know what I have to do in my day because there's too much to do, that is now my signal for overload. And the key here is that I don't decide to push through it anymore. I know when you get started looking at some motivational speeches here on YouTube, it says push through the adversity, push through the discipline, do it anyway. But no, I actually think that by not pushing through it, you are then able to play the long game more. When my signal hits my head and I feel clouded and I feel less than creative and I feel that I can't necessarily complete all of the things that I've chosen to put on my to-do list, I pause and I reset before I become burnt out. Because here are some indicators that you may be carrying too much. You can't finish a thought without checking your phone. Your default reaction to small problems is frustration, and you're doing a lot but nothing feels effective. Those 3 things, I know people in my life that are the exact picture of those 3 things, and I know people in my life that aren't, but for me, that is the signal. If someone asks me to do a small thing that I didn't have planned in my calendar and I become frustrated with the idea of having to move things around, I take a second and say, well, do I have too much in my calendar? Because I should be able to introduce some new tasks to my day without feeling overburdened with that idea. I don't want to have to treat every day like I have to get everything done in order for it to be successful. No, as long as I take 1 small step each day, as long as I'm moving in the right direction, even if I slow down, I see that as a success and a recipe for long-term productivity rather than the short-term gain. So here's my reset protocol, or my personal process, however you may say it. When life starts to feel heavy for me, I don't wait for a breakdown. I follow a reset process, and here's what that looks like step by step. The first thing that I try to do is step away physically. Change rooms, go outside, get out of your environment for at least 10 minutes. If your brain is overloaded, then your environment is usually a part of that process. Recently, this came to me when I was trying to think of some thumbnails. Now, my thumbnails are probably nowadays the most creative parts of these videos. My videos nowadays have a very certain structure, and I have that structure that I'm going to follow. Is I'm going to start off with a cold open, I'm going to talk about some points in the middle, and I'm going to end with a final challenge. But what tends to take the most brain power these days is actually making the concepts and thinking of the concepts for the thumbnails. So the other day when I was thinking of making some thumbnails, I had a sense of cloudiness in my head where it's like a writer's block to an extent, but I just could not think of what would be an effective thumbnail that people would necessarily want to click on. And because I've been trying to do time blocking and I had a certain number of hours that I want to spend on this day, I could have easily said, okay, well, I'm going to push through this anyway and get this done. But what I decided to do instead was take a step away, go outside, take a walk, look at the beautiful air, get some sunlight on my skin, and then come back to it when I had a bit more mental clarity. This proved to be very effective, especially with creating thumbnails. I know sometimes my thumbnails aren't the best, but in terms of getting the work done, I actually was able to work faster and still meet that timeline, even though I took a 20 to 30 minute break in the meantime. And the second step of my reset protocol is to then dump the noise. If you have a lot of things that you need to do, sometimes it really isn't as much as you really think it may be. So a good procedure here is to write down everything that you have to do, everything that's on your mind, everything that's on your to-do list if you don't have it written down already, and put it into a physical thing that you can see and read so that it's not just things floating around in your head. For me, it may be having to clean out the garage and also do the dishes and also put my laundry away. In my head, that sounds like a lot of things to do, but I know that each one of those things probably will only take 15 minutes or so to do a piece. So I recommend, if you don't use your phone, to grab a notepad and write down everything that is on your mind. Unfinished tasks, random thoughts, mental clutter, not necessarily to organize it, but to just get it out of your head, to know that it's somewhere and that you don't have to think about it in order to remember it. And then the next step of my reset protocol is to then reorder my priority. From that list of things that you have just written down, pick the 3 things that actually matter today. Not the 3 things that matter overall, but the 3 things that matter today. Since I'm recording this video on the 1st of the month, one of the things that I need to do is rebalance my budget, and the things that matter today days that I can't postpone is going to be making my mortgage payment. If I left that floating around in my head all day, I may get that mental fatigue of always having to remember it, and I know it'll only take 5 minutes to do, so by writing it down, I can put it at the top of the list and just know that I'll get it knocked out by some point at the end of the day. I believe that most people aren't overwhelmed because they have too much to do, but rather they are overwhelmed because they don't have a system to filter what matters. And in order to do that for myself, I use these tactical tools in order to keep me grounded to an extent. And these are the 3 tools that I try to use consistently even when I'm overburdened or maxed out. Number 1, time blocking instead of to-dos. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I tried to implement a time blocking to my schedule instead of a to-do list of tasks to do. I don't rely on a task list anymore. I block time on my calendar to fully focus on one task at a time. For instance, I'm recording these YouTube videos from 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. in a 1.5 hour period. I am not focusing on having to create thumbnails right now. I'm not focusing on what my 9 to 5 wants me to do after this. I want to be fully present and fully focused on making these YouTube videos so that I can provide the most value possible. After this, another tool that I consistently use is called white space buffering. I build in 30 to 60 minutes of non-negotiable space each day with no meetings, no deliverables, no outputs, because this margin in the middle of my day is where the noise stops and where the clarity comes back. After this, I implement decision filters each day into my life. Every request, opportunity, or decision gets filtered through. Does this move the needle towards my ultimate purpose? Does this align with my responsibilities as a husband, father, creator, or provider? Or can I delegate this to someone else? If I am doing something at my 9 to 5 that is not necessarily in my job description, can I delegate this to someone whose job it is? Or if I'm feeling overburdened with creating thumbnails this week, can I delegate this to someone on Fiverr to get me some peace? These are the decisions I try to ask myself whenever I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. But it's not necessarily what you do when you feel overwhelmed, but it's more about what you don't do when you feel overwhelmed. And here's what I used to do when I used to feel like I was drowning. And this part of the video is for me to tell you to don't make the same mistakes that I did. One of the things I used to try to pride myself in is to keep working even when overwhelmed, just to feel productive. And the danger with that is that output or deliverables does not equal progress. Motion isn't movement. You don't want to just keep doing things so that you can say that you got things done. And also, I know a lot of people that struggle with this, and I try not to do this as well, but sometimes I end up telling a story that ends up being this. But what I used to do a lot is to start venting before reflecting. What I try to do now is pause first and talk second. Don't let your life be overrun by complaints and you just talking about other people about how bad your day was or what happened in this video and how much it took time. No, pause first, reflect, and talk second. And as I talked about in the recent video, I'm actually starting to sweat now because it's getting hot and I got this jacket on. But I used to overcommit so that I wouldn't feel like I was letting people down. This only makes things worse in the long term. And I just made a video about this, I think earlier this week, probably 2 or 3 videos ago, and it's called The Power of Saying No. If you want a full breakdown on that, then check that video out. But the key principle here is that your first response to pressure sets your tone for your whole day, and you don't want to let panic drive the process. So if you're ever feeling like this, what I found valuable is to implement an emergency day system. When I hit my absolute limit, I initiate something that I call an emergency day. This isn't a vacation or a Sabbath. It is a structured fallback system that I use to stabilize. So here's how it works. On your emergency day, clear the calendar. Anything non-urgent does not get scheduled. After this, commit to one output only. I choose one essential deliverable to complete, whether that's editing one video, making one thumbnail, or recording one video. On your emergency day, choose one deliverable and then have a physical reset. Have at least 45 minutes of movement to physically reset your body. Go for a walk, do a workout, do some yard work, anything that is manual that will keep your body moving. One of the most important things here is to then have a digital detox. My phone goes on do not disturb except if it's for my wife. I've actually been attempting to detox all digital influences from my life by getting off most social media platforms, and I feel that my life, although I may be a little bit unaware of certain world events happening, has been personally a lot better. And then lastly, for your emergency day, have a 15-minute audit. You don't want to just keep doing what got you to the overwhelm process in the first place. Take 15 minutes to review how you got there and work on how you can avoid getting to that overwhelmed place in the future. Emergency days should be rare. They shouldn't happen often, maybe once a month, even less than that if possible, but they can save your momentum and save your progress if you use them right. So here's a final challenge for this video. Build your own reset protocol. If you feel like you're carrying too much today, don't wait until it breaks you. Pause, step out, and start dumping the noise. You need a system to reset before the system resets you. And I would just recommend you to build your own version of what I just shared. Save it in your notes app, get a journal from Walmart, and next time life starts to spiral, use it. You don't need more strength, you need less clutter. Clear the noise and move with clarity. If you found any value in this video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.